Think I might walk out from the city if I don't come back round. Please forgive me if I end up in your foreign land. Then I'm gonna reach up to take your loving hand, yeah. Wow. Yeah, I'm stuck out in your wilderness, oh yeah. Wow. Yeah, I'm lost in this love, out in the wild, feeling you now. Down to the valley, and I might get trapped down, but please don't get me. I can't get enough, I wanna be your friend. You got me handcuffed, must be the lucky man. Over the mountains and up in the trees, I'm caught in your magic, you know what you're doing to me. Won't fight your power. You can take me out to the wild, 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 wild. Yeah, I'm stuck out in your wilderness, oh yeah. Wild. Yeah, I'm lost in this love, out in the wild, feeling you now. We're a little bit closer now, right out in the open fields. I just want you to show me your wild side. Woo!
Might not make it to #1, but that was good.
Oh man, thank you so much.
It's great to see you again.
Yes, glad to be here.
You're looking so well. Zach and I first met, chance encounter. I think you were swinging through the UK 2 or 3 years ago, and
Yeah.
I guess a little bit earlier on in the journey. And I think you had an album out that was had relatively recently come out, and now you're back in the UK again to tour the new album for 2024, which is cool. But look, tell us. I must admit, I hope you don't mind me saying, when we first met, I wasn't super familiar with you. And I jumped on the internet, listened a bit, and like, man, you got some voice and some great licks and your own vibe going on and all that kind of stuff. So it's been amazing to see the career progression over the last 2 or 3 years. But tell us, come on, for those that aren't familiar with you as well, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into guitar and your influences and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, how I got into guitar, I was skateboarding in North Carolina, in Southern Pines, North Carolina, and every week at the skate parks, they would have these punk bands come out. And so I just was kind of drawn more and more to that sound and to the guitar as an instrument. So when I was about 9 and a half, I started asking my mom, like, hey, what do you think? Can I get one of these things with 6 strings on it? And around that time, my dad was a correctional officer, so he, prison guard, and was killed in the line of duty. And it was through that time, like, I think it was a big thing. My mom was like trying to find some positive outlets for me during that time, and I think guitar was something that she's like, this is safe. It's a lot safer than skateboarding. So I'm gonna put a guitar in his hands. And then she always listened to Motown music and a lot of R&B, and I mean, we had everything from the Temptations to Prince to everybody in our house growing up. And I think she did a Google search of influential guitar players, because she gave me like 5 very random CDs. It was like Carlos Santana, Johnny Lang, Joe Bonamassa. And I'm like, I don't think somebody in her demographic was probably hip to Joe, but either way, like, that was my first introduction to guitar, all these sort of things. And then it naturally led to YouTube being a very new thing when I started playing guitar, and started looking up Led Zeppelin, and I got into the heavier stuff, more so like Ozzy Osbourne and all that sort of stuff. And a year later or so, she's like, well, doesn't seem like he's ever going to put this thing down, so maybe we'll get him lessons. And that's when I met Baxter Clement from, we were talking about it earlier, Casino Guitars. And he's like, what are you listening to? I'm like, some of this heavy stuff. And I think I mentioned like Three Doors Down as a band that I was listening to. He's like, you need to go back and listen to, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, all this sort of stuff. And so I went home with the sheet he gave me, and it said B.B. King. He was the first on the list because it was alphabetical. And I saw Thrill Is Gone with him and Gary Moore. Wow. And I was kind of obsessed with, guitar and blues and roots rock, music ever since then.
Man, I had no idea about your dad, so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring up anything that was, difficult to talk about, but it never, I always think it's, the guitar can be such a phenomenal, I was going to say instrument, but I don't mean instrument in terms of musical instrument. I just mean a way, I think, of people find it for so many different reasons, and particularly when you hear of people that have been through something difficult or traumatic or whatever like that, it always brings me a sense of I'm so glad that music and instruments like this exist, because it does bring a positivity sometimes to a negative situation, right?
Totally.
So, I mean, what a wonderful story. And your mum sounds like an amazing person as well, with obviously immaculate taste in music, which is great. Baxter, if you're not familiar, he's the guy that sits on the left as you're watching the Casino videos. And I don't think I'm pretty sure I've not met Baxter. If we did, it's been bumped into at a NAMM show or whatever. But, they have a cool YouTube channel as well. They're another 2 guys that have a music store and, make videos every week. So that's an interesting, did you find that you had to undo anything that you'd learned to go back to listening to you know, I think some guitar players they get good fast, as in they get fast first,
Yeah.
and then they go back and they'll listen to a BB or whatever like that and go, oh wow, it's like, you know, this. I need to unlearn stuff now to work out how does BB play one note. Was it Gary Moore that said something about Albert King can play one? You know, I can play 500 notes. Albert King plays one, and I get blown off the. That's it. Get blown off the stage. Was there any element of that came into your learning?
Totally. Like when I first started playing, I was not trying to learn, you know, more intricate chords or anything. It was just about speed. You know, I saw, you know, I think early on, like, you know, seeing Slash play, I was like, oh man, fast. That's all I wanted, you know. And I totally had to go back and focus more on that stuff. And
who else was on the list? So you had BB.
Oh, I mean, it was most of the blues legends.
Greats,
Most of that. But I mean, I remember coming home from school every day, getting on YouTube and like researching artists, and it was a lot in that genre. Johnny Lang was huge, still a huge fan of his voice and playing. I will say there was an artist that, John Mayer was, like, for instance, like I was so in like this box that I wasn't aware of any of the pop stuff. Like it was all at Crossroads Festival stuff, you know. Like so it wasn't until I moved to Texas when I was 13 that like I started listening to regular radio and like Kings of Leon, you know, all these others, you know, bigger artists, the Black Keys, and
Yeah. When did you first realize you could sing as well? Because I mean, I'm much as I love listening to a great guitar player, all of my favorites sang as well. So whether it was BB or Eric Clapton or John Mayer or, you know, I think for me it's that interaction between someone that can sing and play makes the most complete musician for me. Just personal, I guess. But when did you realize that, or had you always been singing and playing?
My mom was a great singer, and you know, I would say I got it from her. Early on, I mean, just always singing around the house casually in the car, and I think she tried to push me to do it, and I didn't want to do that. Even when I started playing guitar, like I would play for anybody. I'd be like, "Hey, listen to me! I just learned this thing," and like, but I never wanted to sing for anybody. And it wasn't until I got in my first middle school band. It was called Project X, and
that sounds like a speed metal band.
Right? Yeah. And that first band, and they were like, "Wait a minute, why are you just playing guitar? You can sing too. Like, you're gonna start singing. You're gonna start carrying some of the weight." And like, eventually, like I started singing more and more songs, and I was singing all the songs. And then when we all made it to high school level, like people got interested in, you know, football and different things, and I was the only one that still wanted to do music. And so I honestly thought I was going to be like an Ed Sheeran sort of like act. Like I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do the acoustic guitar. I had, I think, one electric that I put away, or maybe it got lost. I'm not sure what happened to it, but I had a Taylor GS Mini and a looper pedal. And I started in high school.
Zach Sheeran.
Yeah,
exactly who it is.
Yeah. I quit my day job, which is my you know, like a hardware store job when I was in high school, and it's like, wow, I can make way more money for less hours just playing acoustic guitar in this like club. And so yeah, at 15 I started gigging, 3-hour, you know, cover gigs in like a bar in Houston, Texas, and that's kind of what forced me to sing and what helped you know, shape my voice.
Honestly, it's a great voice, and I like as well. I think guitar players who sing, they learn instinctively to leave the spaces. Yeah. Maybe not, you know, maybe not better or worse. It's the wrong word, but I guess you know they instinctively are going, well, I'm singing now, so I don't need to do something here. And then when I'm not singing, it's the right time to do something. And I think it just, you know. It's cool to listen to. I did read, but I don't know whether you want to talk about this or not, but I did read that you had a short stint on American Idol.
Oh yeah.
Was this sort of at the end of the sort of Ed Sheeran, still thinking you were going to be sort of pop star type
Yeah,
phase, different style, or?
but yeah, by that point I had just graduated high school, and I had a local, well, a little bit before, a local church had asked me to come play guitar, and I hadn't played electric guitar in a while, and I'm like, I don't even have one to come do this, and the guy's like, don't worry, he's like, I've got a rig you can play through. I'm like, okay. So I learned the song, showed up for sound check or whatever, the pre-service, and like he had a Marshall stack, crazy pedal board, a custom shop Strat with a humbucker in it, and like it was like played through the PA, and it was awesome. I'm like, I need to do this again, and so pretty quickly just started putting out ads and everywhere to try and find a band. So I had a trio at that point. We were playing. But yeah, graduated high school. Plan was to go to college. I was gonna do like business or something, like just more generic, and like went on American Idol instead. And it was short-lived. I mean, it was a fun experience. I went on there, like, actually I got vocal lessons from a guy named Tom McKinney right before I went on that show, because I'm like, I know I need help in this area. And I don't know, like I said, it's all those sorts of shows. I mean, they're you have to realize they're TV shows as well. I mean, there's a performance element to it, but it's never quite as straight ahead as like it's portrayed.
Did that shape, maybe give you a slightly more cynical view of what the music industry might be if you went down one path as opposed to going the other? Well,
I kind of, I guess, came to define it as like there's the music business, and then there's like Hollywood, and like that's shows like that are kind of where they intersect, and I kind of realized I'm not as much of a fan of the Hollywood side of it. I mean, there's I think there's obviously there's a place for it, and there's it's good, and I mean, it needs to be there. But I don't know. I fell in love more with the music, business of music side more so than the.
So tell it, how old are you now?
27.
27. So, okay. So we must have met when you were maybe 24, something like that. So what that your early 20s, was that all about just playing as much as you possibly could, smoky clubs and stuff, and just learning your craft, or what tell us about that time.
Yeah, I did a lot of that. I was living in Houston, Texas, and then right before I turned 21, I decided to move to Austin, and that was kind of like, I mean, there's so much history there, and made the move there in 2017, and quickly started putting out ads like, hey, I'm looking for a band here. I moved there with a bass player that played with me for a little while longer, but was looking for a drummer, and I got a couple emails, maybe 10 or so emails, and looking through the list, and like, one person stood out, and like, it sounds awesome. We set up a guitar center, rehearsal room, practice, and like, it was pretty awesome. Like, I thought it was awesome from the very beginning. He might say like, oh, well, it wasn't my best, but it was pretty good, and like, we started playing together. Jake Weibel has been my drumming with me for like the last 6 years or so, 6 or 7 years, and we started playing on Friends Bar on 6th Street. That was our residency, and a lot of crazy connections kind of came through that, and we got to hone our skills. I got to experiment with the crowd. We're playing for, it's like part tourism, part college sort of scene, and like, when you're doing those 3-hour sort of gigs, and it's like 11, midnight, and you don't know, you just start trying stuff, and like, I'm like, let's see if guitar is dead. Like, there's a bunch of college age girls here. Like, if I say I'm gonna play a Jimi Hendrix song, let's see how they react. And then, okay, did they leave? They left. Okay, I'm gonna say I'm gonna play a Bruno Mars song, and then I'm gonna play Jimi Hendrix. They stayed and danced. Okay, so it's I don't know. You do all those games, but it was a great sort of learning period. And we briefly had management and a label, and while we were in Austin, and that was kind of through that COVID period, and a lot of weird stuff happened with that relationship, and with COVID and everything, and coming out of it in like 2021. we kind of found ourselves in a position where it's like, you know, here I am and Jake's with me, and we're like trying to figure out what do we do now, and the world's kind of wide open, and had a booking agent that was willing to, you know, work really hard for us, and so we just, you know, all of 2022 and 23, you know, went out and tried to play as many shows as possible, try to get in front of as many people as possible, and you know,
so what have the breaks been over the last, you know, people that you've come into contact with, maybe other artists that have opened doors to take it to another level? I mean, because the tour you're doing at the moment seems to be some decent sized venues, and you know, so yeah, tell us, you know, more recently how that's panned out.
Yeah, I mean, it's been got to meet a lot of cool folks through this. I mean, coming out of like I said, into 2022, I was like, okay, there's not management anymore. There's not the label, the indie label. They're gone, and like, but we've had a lot of traction, and like want to keep it going. You know, I want to keep putting out music, and you know, in the process of trying to figure out how I was going to record it, I was introduced to Tyler Bryant, and he was really awesome on the phone, and was like, well, you know, I've got a studio here, like, I like the demo you sent, why don't you come up here and record it? So we recorded a song called Nothing to Lose, and a few months later, he was like, you want to do some more? I'm like, yeah, let's do some more. And so we ended up recording most of the majority of the album that's out now, called Let's Get Loud. Most of that was done with Tyler.
I hadn't realised, I mean, people watching probably will be more familiar with Tyler for his Shakedown kind of band, but I didn't realise he was doing a lot of production as well. Is he producing several bands, or were you one of the first to kind of go through his studio?
I don't know how much exactly he'd done before. I feel like I was somewhat early on, but I mean, he's done a lot of, he's been doing a lot of, you know, his own stuff, and the Larkin Poe record, which just won, I think, a couple Grammys.
They've gone massive, haven't they, over the last maybe 18 months or so.
They're awesome.
Yeah, totally brilliant band. Yeah. Well, look, so tell it. So we got some dates in the UK and Europe. We're going to try and get this video out as fast as we can, so that if you're watching this from either the UK or Europe, you'll see some of the dates. We'll put those below. But then as soon as you're back home, the touring doesn't stop, right? You're just relentless.
Yeah, for the time being, we get, you know, a couple weeks off, and then we did spring West Coast tour. We'll do some East Coast stuff for the fall, and then festivals, and then
lots of summer festivals, but all back home again, or some of those?
All for now, all back home.
Well, look, you should go and see Zach if you get a chance to, and if you don't get a chance to, at least go and check out the album, which you can find on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever. Honestly, your singing is killer. The guitar playing is killer as well. There's some really great tunes. Half of me sort of feels like it just feels like there's somewhere down the line it's just going to blow up, and then everyone will be talking about you, and you'll be on the front cover of all the guitar magazines as well, because it sort of feels like I can see it with artists who've come before you, that it's just waiting for that something, you know, somebody up there or wherever has just got to go, now it's your time, and then boom, because the music is already great.
Thanks so much.
Let's talk about gear.
Yeah.
Because I know, again, since I last met you, you've been working with the Gibson guys. It's great to see you with a pedal board, and, you know, because it's always fun to talk about that. But where do you want to start? Do you want to talk about how you got to meet the Gibson guys? And again, I always admire somebody who's going to play a single pickup Les Paul, because, you know, there's nowhere to hide, right? Everything's got to be either here or a little bit of volume or something like that. But tell us what drew you to that. Did you have a guitar hero that played a single pickup Les Paul?
Not exactly. No, I mean, all of my favorite players are Strat guys. In fact, my favorite guitarist is a guy named Dave Scher. He's from Austin, Texas. He's been a local guy around, you know, in the Austin scene for a while. But Eric Johnson picked him up, and he's been on the road with Eric Johnson for like the last couple of years, playing rhythm and lead guitar, which is like, says a lot. So I mean, he's my favorite. But I was introduced through a mutual friend when there was a Gibson showroom in Austin, and in 2020, and, you know, me coming from the telly world, I was a telly player primarily. I was looking for something with single coils, and I bounced around a lot. I mean, Jake can attest to it. Like I switched so much, and I don't know. This has been the most comfortable for me. I have an old SG Special with the full size pickguard. Two that I play, and it needs a refret. I've been playing this mostly. I don't know. It feels so comfortable. Part of me wishes that I could somehow slide like a Tele neck pickup in there, but I don't know. I kind of love this thing.
Can we just hear some, like, I'm interested in just how you go from like maybe a rhythm to a lead sound or whatever. Are you doing that all just from how hard you're picking, or are you sitting on the volume, or are you kicking in a pedal, or?
It's a little bit of all three. I'm constantly riding the volume, which is, again, another reason why it's nice to have it right here with the single pickup. But I used to try to get everything out of, there's solo, and then there's that, and that was it was a little too much, because rolling down, you had just too much gain to, on tap. So I did break it up, and I have one pedal, and that's kind of my, everything. And if I really want some extra juice on a solo, then I'll step on a boost or something. And I mean, my primary thing, it's pretty, pedestrian, or just, it's the Rat. It's nothing crazy, but
let's have a little listen.
I mean, without the slapback, it's just.
So there's plenty of gain on there, isn't there? So you're I'm always intrigued, because there's like the full rainbow of guitar players out there, from guys who'll play uber clean all the time to guys who'll go hyper gainy. And it always surprises me. You can't assume based on a genre of music where that player's going to be, because some guys who you think are playing crazy heavy stuff aren't using that much distortion, and some guys who are playing sort of mild blues have got all the distortion in and a fuzz pedal on top of it, and you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But that's basically just a clean tone on the super reverb, and a Rat, which, so come on, why is your Rat upside down? Is it because the tone controls
it's
back
literally
to front, or just because that's the only way it fits?
It's the only way it fits. That's the only reason.
There was going to be some magic.
No, I wish there was. I should have lied.
It sounds better upside down.
Yeah, I mean, it's the filter knob is kind of, how bright that can get, but I just kind of put it in an area where, it sounds best for the guitar I'm using.
So that's because this is upside down, isn't it? So the filter knob is almost all the way up, right?
Yeah.
So you're taking a lot of the treble off the sound, so you're going for that slightly more, darker tone.
Yeah. A little bit. I mean, it just depends on the amp that I'm using, and the night, that can move a little bit. Volume really depends on, again, kind of where the amp is going to be at. I leave the distortion knob just straight up and down. Any further than that, it's a mess.
Can we see how that kind of cleans up and stuff then? Because I wouldn't normally, I know the Rat's super popular, but I wouldn't have said I know tons of blues guys that are using Rats. It's sort of, more probably rock and almost even punky kind of guys using that. But.
Right. I mean, it's called like a distortion fuzz or something, right? Like I try to use to just do like a fuzz on all the time and roll that up, but it's just inherently there's so many problems and so much you have to baby them, and and the Rat kind of does that thing for me. I mean it doesn't get into like complete smushed sort of at the top end, but it cleans up like a fuzz face. What I think like here it's like, and then I can. So you can get that. So I can still.
There's plenty of variation there, isn't there?
And you have the Tele thing kind of happening. Yeah.
And then are you ever playing with the tone, or is it tone on 10 all the time? And
I hear there's a lot of wisdom in this, but I have not gotten to that point yet. I mostly keep it all the way up.
So the Rat is the always on pedal.
Yeah.
And then what are you sort of like dumping in over the top of that just to give you more flavors?
I tried a lot of different things. Right now, I've kind of just back to the tube screamer. I mean, I hadn't used a tube screamer for like 6 years, but funny enough, we're doing these UK dates are with the Blue Bonnets,
Right.
and that has Kathy Valentine,
Okay.
from the Go-Go's. She's in that band, and we became friends over the last year. And she just moved back here from Austin, and she was getting rid of some stuff, and she was like, "Here, you want this like old 80s tube screamer?" I'm like, "Yes, I do." And so I started using it, and I think on like the first show, I don't think it was for me stepping on it too hard. I think it's just kind of old, and there's a hole in it.
Oh,
now.
that black, I thought that was just where you'd coloured it with a pen or something, but that's actually where some of the casing has just chipped away.
Yeah,
Still works
deteriorated.
though, right?
It still works.
If that was Eric Johnson's pedal, we'd all be talking about that's why it sounded special, because it
Exactly.
just had a bit of the case missing like
Right.
that. So, well, let's hear what that, it's a TS9, right? So let's
Yeah.
just hear what that sounds like.
So, I mean, it's not crazy difference, but it just gives you just a little
Just
bit
enough.
just a little bit more.
Yeah,
a little bit more sustain when you're
yeah.
doing some of the high stuff, you know. Just a little bit longer.
You can hear it. And then the one with all the sort of spacey graphics on the front, what is that one?
This is the Marsline Octafuzz drive. It's by a company called Interstellar Audio Devices, I believe. I met them at a festival in Memphis, Tennessee, and they had a booth there, and I picked one of these up, and I just thought it was awesome. I heard a demo on their Instagram, and I thought it sounded just like the Belief live in Los Angeles Mayor sort of tone. I don't know if it's not the same pedal, but it had that sort of thing. I'm like, I've never heard anything that's gotten close to that, and I don't know, it just sounds pretty rad. It's a little broken as well right now, but it still works. It just has a little bit of extra floor
And you're
level
using that
noise.
you're using that for solos and stuff, just on.
I use it just when I want to get weird with stuff. It's the Octafuzz, but
That sounds great. I want to see. This is like. So I've got a similar kind of vibe of pedal, but I want more boost going into this. I need more. You've got way
More
more.
is better.
You've got way. Yeah, you've got way more boost than mine. I didn't have it switched on.
I was like,
that's why I didn't have it switched on. This good. I mean, who doesn't love?
yeah.
It's like you say, it's
gotta
when you
have
want to
it.
go a bit crazy, right? And it's just, and I always, every time I seem to go down the fuzz rabbit hole, it's like, it's never the same twice. Sometimes it's amazing, other times you just go, it sounds awful.
Yeah.
But it's the same pedal on the same settings, and it's
Right.
just, I don't know, it's weird. So what else have we got on here? You've got, so that's all your drives, right? Rat, the Fuzz, and the TS9.
Yeah.
Isn't the Quint a pitch shifter?
Yeah.
So where does that come into your set?
Actually, I used to use it a lot more, and right now we do a duo thing, but I used it a lot with the trio, just because we got a little bit spacier.
As an octave pedal, or what are you using?
Yeah, so it's got a mix knob, so you can get all the octave or a blend of the guitar with the octaves, but it's got a low octave, high octave, and a fifth. So basically,
I
you
was
can
going
do.
to say, I thought it had a fifth on it as well.
Yeah.
But are you using that? Or?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I use it on one song, and it's but it sounds cool. I've had this since, well, not this specific box, but I've had this pedal on my board since I was like 16. It's awesome. So. You
It's a great sound. I imagine you have to be quite disciplined with not putting that on too much, otherwise it's just every solo just becomes some crazy prog rock solo from.
Yeah, no, I only use it in the studio and maybe once on a live, because I'm trying to replicate like a keyboard thing. Funny enough, if you pair this other pedal, the Super Trim.
I love the Super Trim.
Yeah, I mean, you know what it does.
Yeah.
Fake.
You've almost got that ice hockey organ type thing going on, haven't you?
Exactly. I would do the but I forgot how to play it. So, yeah.
That's cool. And then El Capistan, I love that delay pedal. Not only is it a great delay pedal, I think it just adds a certain secret sauce to the guitar tone as well, which is always a good thing. I notice as well you're just old school. Into the pedal board, into the front of the amplifier, not using effects loops or anything like that. So it's important to, I guess, you need a reasonably high headroom, clean type amplifier. Are you generally trying to stick to super reverbs and twins and stuff wherever you go? Or?
Yeah, generally. You know, I played orange amps. I love those. I played 2 Rock amps in the past, and they're phenomenal, as you know. Most of the time, right now I have a super reverb, and I can usually get that for backline, but it's not far off from a twin. A big clean Fender amp. I try to make this rig as easy to replicate if something goes down or if you're flying in, just to keep it all together. Because I had some like gainy amps, and I'm like, it's cool to have them, but like you know, if I'm doing stuff, I guess like on the road in the States it works. But if we're doing a fly date, I wanted to have a rig that I knew I could just kind of get the same stuff all the time. So that's why I kind of rely on these big high headroom Fender amps.
It is a great sound. Do you know what? We've missed the wah, and you were saying, I know it's this unusual sort of bronze color, and you're saying that it's some sort of artist signature or special edition, but we can't remember.
I can't remember the name. No, it's been too long. It has like some, I think, like waves that are on the front of it. I don't know. I'm sure somebody knows what it is. It's kind of bronzy, but I mean,
is it again just all about the Jimmy kind of vibe with this, or are you using it differently? Or?
No, I never really used wah pedals. It was my drummer that convinced me to get one. He's like, I think you'd have fun with it. I'm like, yeah, I'd have too much fun. And like, no, I started a lot of, at least like 3 or 4 of the songs on this album feature a wah thing. So now I have to have it. I can't get rid of it. But I don't really do a lot of solos with it. I use it more as like the EQ sort of thing. You know, if I really want to stick out, or like, you know, if I'm doing a big bend, if I push it to the edge, it sounds a little cool. It's like if I did you start to get that scratchy thing that happens at the very end of the note, you know, like on Wild, just that, you know, rhythmic things. But I don't really,
not solo.
I don't live
much with it.
And then with the Capistan, it's just always on, a little bit of slap.
So it's an always on. Just okay, cool. The Helicon there, is that something you've got for putting your vocal mic through if you're fine? So that's an interesting fly rig, that, for a sort of a singer player. So you're assuming, if you like, that the front of house guy won't have the kind of effects that you want to put in your voice, or are you putting weird effects on depending on the song?
I do have a couple weird effects. I don't use those every show. It's like you're saying, mostly just to make sure, one, that we have the effects available. Make sure that, you know, we don't have to do the thing of like, okay, it's out front, just give us a second, we'll get it to your monitors at the end of the chain. You know, we don't have to talk about how much needs to be there. It just eliminates a lot of problems. And then in a quick festival changeover, you know, us being a duo, we were running like a kind of intricate setup with some weird technology, and that takes time. So it's a lot easier just to drop this whole thing down, plug everything into it, and roll.
I know I know you've mentioned a couple of times that you've gone from trio to duo, and it's my bad here because I've only just realised that what you mean is it's just you and Jake on drums, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what challenges does that bring then as a
Whole lot. Yeah, whole lot.
Because you've got to play differently, you've got to add you've got to sort of compensate for the fact that you've got no bass player, or what? Or is it just just that I don't know? Is there just less people to share the driving? I mean, what's the biggest?
It's yeah. I mean, during COVID, we became a duo, and we're doing a lot of online videos, and just playing through the songs, per usual, but then going back and recording bass into it for the video. And then I was like, wow, well, when we start playing shows again, I wonder if we could actually make this work. I'm like, I'm picturing it. I like to picture stuff, and then I don't know, that helps me bring it to reality. So like I pictured this, like big giant amp stack, and then me, and then this other big imposing figure with huge drum set, and just like having these two, loud rock sounds, and then like sort of like a subby bass sound that sounded a little bit more modern, and like. I mean, I'm not reinventing anything. Like, there's a lot of duos that are out there doing stuff like that, but it's challenges that again, traveling and to a festival and doing a quick setup when it's like 15 minutes, and like because we're running this stuff, I have to have ears so that I can hear and stay on time with the stuff. I mean, I do a lot of bass loops and whatnot that will have just like P bass direct into Logic, and we'll play the song and I'll play bass. I'll be the bassist and then capture that. It's in our SPD, and like that it runs out through bass amps on stage. If anybody's trying to do this, if you try to put the bass just through the PA, I hope you have a really good PA. I hope you have subs. We learned some of that stuff the hard way through trial and error. So now it's like my live rig. I got the super reverb. I have another amp, or I'll have another spare amp that maybe has some gain on tap, and then I'll have a bass amp. Our bass runs through there, and it feels
and how are you
realistic.
doing? So have you've presumably got another switcher or something on a different board that's routing or are you literally picking up one instrument, doing the stuff through the bass amp, and then putting that down? And
no, like I mean, it's the songs are they're in. I'll record them at home, like for the bass parts.
So you're playing to a track.
Yeah,
essentially.
right,
I see.
Yeah,
but you're running the track. Oh, I see. So you're running the track through the amps as if it would be on stage.
Exactly, and it works pretty well. I mean, the meat of the songs is that we've got like. I do have an octave if something goes crazy, horribly wrong. I've got a looper here. I don't even use the looper really to loop anything in the set. It's literally like, oh, my string broke or something crazy happened and I need to, change strings, and I can just... step away and like
I've never
do what I need to do.
There's a whole new market for ditto looper pedals there.
There
is
you
to
go.
just keep a chord going all the time while you change strings.
Exactly.
I must admit, I've got to get into this a bit more. I got an HX1 for my board, which was just purely and simply because I thought there are some crazy effects in here, and I may or may not ever use them, but I've got... And I've got a looper on here as well, and it would be just for that. I love the idea of just looping a funky bass line down or something like that and then playing over the top of it. I think you've got to be another... I remember watching Ed Sheeran when he did his launch video for his new looper pedals, sorry. And again, like there's a whole another layer of talent and ability from going... I'm just going to do this little loop for my messing around at home like that, to going, no, I'm going to literally live put about 5 different loops down all simultaneously and be switching them on off and singing and playing guitar and jumping up and down in front of 100,000 people at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, that's like another level again, isn't it? But we should try and do something with your looper pedal to just loop out with. Because then you haven't got to put up with my shitty rhythm guitar playing like that. You can just use yours, and then we can just mess around over the top. But look, man, it's a pleasure to see you again. Great to finally have you in an interview here. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict the future. But man, if you're not playing to 25,000 people and being the, you know, one of the biggest rock blues guitar players on the planet, there's something wrong, because you got it all, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, hopefully the stars align and that's where it's at. But you're certainly putting in the hard work to make it happen, so that's cool.
Thanks, man. And, you know, shout out to our Tres Hombres tour support from Belgium. They put together this awesome tour for us, and, you know, couldn't have done it without them.
Yeah,
so.
well, as I said, hopefully, you know, you guys will go and check out some of Zach's stuff, because it's very, very cool. Well, look, let's loop something. We'll play around that for 2 or 3 minutes, and then we can fade out, and you can do your 6-hour drive up to Preston.
Oh, yeah. I like what you played earlier, though.